Samoa e whaatalofa atu I lau mai moanga masani. I le nei fo I afiafi o le asosa I lunga o le televise tolu I Samoa. Ai mai se fo I le mai mo mai o le tātu wa tunu I tafa e fia o le lalolangi I lunga o le upenga o whaamtalanga, le YouTube channel ma le Facebook a le talanoa live. O le tātu Polokalame fo le nei Sunday with Teleiai ta alofa lava. E mo foi ona momoli le tātou whaasangi ma le whaapolo le tapa au le langi. Whaafetai le tua I lo wanga le lei lau pule whaasoifua ia Samoa le atunu pele. Ai mai se foi le alalai o tātou tangata I so se vaenga o le kelope. Samoa ua tautupu, tautumua la tātou wholaunga le nei tausanga. Ai mai se sa tilitili alu mai, ma tu la au mai whaamanuiti o le vau, le tātou Polokalame whaasolo Samoans in Aotearoa. O le nei Polokalame sa whapea o na mai moai o tātou tangata. I le lua se fulu vai aso I le sa iri ngā malo a Samoa na tu uai o tātou ele. Ai anga I mai le nei atinu malulu o Aotearoa. Mai le vai tau o le 5 se fulu, le 6 se fulu se o le 7 se fulu. A o mo mia ni usila tangata whai ngā luenga. E whai ngā luenga I whaatoanga I whale whai ngā luenga ese o le nei atunu. Pe tai o le 7 se fulu, lea sa toe anga, lea ngai ni usila e maise ia I lato na ova aso. E toe whaafoi I Samoa, lea sa ta ua ole dawn raids. O lea ua whaato ese lea fionga I le pale mio ni usila. Jacinda Ardern ma le whainga malolo ia I nei. Ona o ia winga le tau waloa sa whaatino I tangata o le Pasifika, ai maise foi o tātou tangata Samoa. O lea o le atau walunga le tātou Polokalame whaasolo Samoans in Aotearoa I le nei tausanga. I le mai moanga o le mau ua momoli atu I le pale mene o New Zealand. Mo se la vea I se fesoasoani mo I lātou o lo ova aso I le teimi le nei. E pei o na ele tāpenanga a le Pacific Leadership Forum. Saunuanga a le afionga I le teiteifono le tupa Samoa. Le afionga I le aloa lii, fepule ai, semi fepule ai, a mai se taitai ese o le Pasifika.
Samoa o leo papai ki ai urupanga. Papai foi ki ora kau ki anga. Sa ungiungi foi e kafau. Leo o mako karango aku I luma o le panemengia na malonu sila. Se o mako moli ora kako maka upu. Feiro ai mara komiti ngei I le ka ora kolu. O vaenga fai ui o lo mo mia e komiki fa panemene. Inga I avaku submissions ora kako Pasifika. O ngā ko whakasi lea mga lako ripoki ma me umolo iai. O ngā ngai leo se lako whaukuanga fōi le malongu sila. Samoa, e leo whaingo fie ngei me uma. A o lo kauiwi lava, ma wha moe lava I le kua. O le malai o malo. O le kanga mangu fōi lea ngusila yonga upu whai. Whai angel pa ia o le parmene. O lea lava o mako kau whai. Ia so o mai le whau. Mai ese o mako o mai le kuruinga o me uma. Samoa, e ai lea mouka, e ai foi lea mokai. Ai foi mara koe aso ngai momoa. O koe aso ngai momoa ngā kari aire whepō. Sei uma le kaua lapalapa I la kai. Ai sei mori aku le lapalapa o malo I whungaa. I le mea suwai na maria koa. O mako I loa, o loo e ka pua I mai Samoa, o loo po whala foi lau ka pua inga. Ai e sira fia foi ma kako malama. O ngei maenga uma, o loo kau ma whailava I le nganga maulalo. O loo kau ma whailava I le nganga sue malo. Pei lamo karikongo kako kua ua mawai. O e o rango I kia ma ko whai malai o whailangi ala ko wholaunga. A sue malo, a whaala kaua foi a inga, o lalo. O lalo lama. E o lawa I lalo e kau mwhai o kuai. Inga ia mangui ar wha moe o Overstayers, o kako uso, o kako kua whawhingi, o e wha leo mau kongu na lako ngofo I kongu no sila. Mai o karikongu foi Samoa. E le ai lava ma se ai nge au ngoa ma se overstayer. Ronga winga, o le maka upo sa mo a ko lava. A ngei wa ngā lurue a ko e le Pasifika. O vaenga uma lava o le Pasifika. O a kungu ura iki. Ai pei o kungu ki kere lava. O sa mo makonga. O kako au whai o kako overstayer o iai. O wako rua fe lima se lau. O le mea mongi lava. A lo whangia e le kua. Whaamungu e inga ngei usa mga iko whawhingi. O la ngō whamau i kongo no sila. O se whaamungu anga mongu sila. A se whaamungu anga sili mo kako umar kako kungu. E le whaingo whia mea umalava. Ai mako ke mangaku. E whaingo whia i le kua malonga lofa. O le mga whaafonga le kua. Ia kou kalo ma mako kalo. O le whaingo nga sila whia. Le mea ngai o kou whingalo. Mangi mea o lo i kongo mako loko. Kau lava o kako kapua i maku i le kua. O ia e kou mai a mangu ma lo mai mangu i ora langi. Inga ia whaamunga inga ra kako whaamoi moi. Sa moa mako karsangaku. Ia iai pēo lo kou alofa. Ia kulai pēo lo kou mawhauwhaunga. A ngā i sua ngā malolo whaingei. Inga ia manguia, inga ia whaifoi. O ngā kauleleia. Ia aua ngā veo se mea e ikangi ai sesi o kako. Mai mako whapea kufoi. Lewa kou sila. O umanga whako ese. Le pale mia o ngusila. O umanga whako ese ma mai nang whako esenga. I winga baka ngā. Ma winga le kau aloa. Sa kukupu. I kau sanga ua mawae. Mai mangaku foi. O ke kui ngaku ngā langonga. Ka ngaka uma foi o le tunuu. O kako karia ma le fia. O rea se meu ho i ai le lako karusanga. O rea se meu ho i ai le lako ifonga. Kako ke makakaria ma le fia. E mako ke whapea foi a ke oe au pito. O oe o le mingska o le rupe whanele. A le kako kungu. A waka ngā mangu i ko kongu. O upu whai o malo i ngu silangei. O ke mangaku au pito o lau kaimi lea. O lau kaimi lea ke kulai mai ai. O lau kaimi lea ke whapea mai ai. Samoa i alafo mai a rea venga. A wafoi o e ngai ke kūre ko. E kangaloa kusi oe. Wa oe o lo mingska ma lo e kūre whai ngā malo. Me lea o piko. Mako ke kapua i o whaiwa peanga kui ngaku i kausanga o moae. Mako ka uaku i ake oe. O komiki al PLF. Pacific Leadership Forum. E se lau pasengi langolongo kui a oe. Male whai ngā malo. Me lea. Mako ke whapeaku. I a manguia. Kau whainga al komiki. I a manguia fo i Samoa mana kapo inga. I a manguia so se whakawhai kaulanga. Ai maise au whainga ruenga pa ia rea kua. O i lako umalo o ngō manguinga se mangu o Samoa ai maise na maka upurngei. Soifua, mai manguia.
It is a very important time for us Pacific people as we lay the foundation to mobilize a vision to help the well-being of our people. Now is the time to walk the talk. And here we are now in Parliament. Here we are to take the cry and the plead of our people. The overstayers who have been here longing for that compassionate pathway from Parliament. And today, as a community, we stand in solidarity. We stand together in our prayers. We stand together in faith, believing that God will do the impossibles for us. And hopefully this afternoon, we continue to pray that those people in authority will be given the compassionate heart to respond positively to the petition this afternoon. And as we mobilize our communities together this afternoon, we would like to stand together in solidarity. And as I always mention in my talk, we have to act locally and we have to think globally. Let us think of the Tuvaluans if they're going back to Tuvalu. What will be there in Tuvalu for them? There's nothing. Now if the COVID-19 is here, That's why we are asking the government of New Zealand to be more compassionate to our people. They have contributed economically to the welfare of New Zealand, and now it's time to give them the opportunity. For New Zealand as a nation belongs to us, people of the ocean, and now it's time for New Zealand to act for the people's cry. My name is Teleiai, and I'm Fijian from the Wellington Fijian community, and I've been here in New Zealand for nearly 40 years. One of those beneficiaries of the very good relationship that New Zealand has with our Pacific nations. So today's a very important day for us. So it is about coming to support the petition for our people who may be undocumented or those who've stayed here for so long with their families, with visas that are revolving every time, giving uncertainty and instability to their families, nevertheless contributing to the livelihood and the economic life of Aotearoa New Zealand. So we are very much here today to support the effort by many of our leaders all around the country, and acknowledging our leaders from Auckland who are here today, who spearheaded this move. So Fijians in Wellington and the lower North Island are very much in support of the effort to seek support for the petition, which is to grant overstayers a pathway to residency, because in New Zealand they are contributing a great deal to the economic life of New Zealand. These are people who were called on to come and serve in the very various industries, and now want to live here permanently, and they want to do it legally. They don't want to do it outside of the law. They're prepared to come forward to declare their interest in wanting to be part of New Zealand Aotearoa. So that is why we're here today, and our Fijian community all around New Zealand, I have no doubt, have a great support for this effort. So vinagaba lebu, and God bless you.
Malo lelei, my name is Teleiai. I am a Tongan. I'm part of the Pacific Leadership Forum, and I'm here as a representative of the leaders of the Tongan community, and want to be part of the petitions towards the overstays here in New Zealand. As a Tongan and within the Pacific Leadership Forum, I am so looking forward for this, and whatever is going on today within the Parliament, we are here to support the petition for our Pacific Island people who are overstayers in New Zealand. Yeah, malo apito.
Sa mo le faisa tātou malolonga, a foi mai, ona tātou anga i le fionga ya tofilau esta tofilau, i tutonu o le Palemene o New Zealand, i le papai ai o le mau e pe ona ie le talosanga o wale le ulonga a le komiti faapitoa.
Mana tua le Pacifica Market i malurewa i asa whaile te itasi mai le valu tae o le tolu lea fiafi. Tele le vaisalo, koko esi, wha ausi, pia sua whai, koko alaisa, keke pua amare keke mamoe, mole malu tae au, maua le mutalo, uau whai a ia, le size 2, matau mafa SS, onongi le papa kiu muri pipi, male mamoe, tele lava lava ma mea taulima sa mua male Pacifica, a fia mai loa i le iwa lima Browns Road i malurewa, Pacifica Market i asa whaile te itasi.
A fai wo te uti le seleni mana o me wave se so swani mo so se whaalavlave. Vili mai loa le whaalavlave longs i le olwa tasi, olwa iwa, lua ono fitu o. Olwa tasi, olwa iwa, lua ono fitu o. Matala noa i le fionga ia tofilau esta tofilau mo sau nono ngā tupi e iai ngā faapitoa.
Sa mo leo le a fea le fionga ya tofilau esta tofilau. I tutonu o le Palemene ina ua tango fia e le komiti faapitoa New Zealand le mata upu o le talosanga mo se fesoasoani ini awala e mawhai ai o na whai pepo i latou o lo ova aso i New Zealand Manatua se vaenga o le sefulu faafe mona tupu I latou umalava. Mai lea whainumera se vaenga o le afe 5 se lau mona tupu o tātou tangata Samoa o lo o awhiai.
Talofa Samoa, Malora Soifu Maua. This week, I'm with the Pacific Leadership Forum as they make submission to the Parliamentary Petitions Committee requesting the New Zealand Government to provide pathways for overstayers to gain permanent residence in New Zealand on compassionate grounds. This is a significant issue affecting Pacific people in New Zealand and the first to go to parliamentary following the apology by the New Zealand Prime Minister to Pacific people for the wrongs of the Dawn raids. Let's hope the Prime Minister and the New Zealand Government will be kind to overstayers. Teleiai S2 reporting in.
Is on behalf of the Pacific Leadership Forum and asks that the House of Representatives provide pathways for overstayers under compassionate grounds to gain permanent residency in New Zealand. So, Committee, our last action on this item of business was to resolve to invite the petitioner and the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment to an oral hearing. So, again, you are welcome. We have set down 30 minutes for the Pacific Leadership Forum and Maka Hokovalu Palati to address us. So the time is yours.
There is a perception in New Zealand that overstayers are burdens to our tax system, the taxpayers. It's always been with the media. We decided to have a look at that perception. Statistics New Zealand provides some data. University of Otago provides some data of the average household spending. So we unpacked these data and came up with 32 million per annum that is collected from the overstayers by just managing to survive in terms of GST. We predicted that approximately about 2/3 of the overstayers are working, currently working under the radar. And through working, they are paying PAYE tax to the government. And through our estimate, $92 million a year that they collected through PAYE. Last 10 years, we estimated 281 million for GST only, for 10 years. For PAYE, 696 million. An aggregate total of $977 million collected over the last 10 years. This is an estimate based on the data that we received from Statistics New Zealand, Income Tax, and the Reserve Bank. We managed to unpack this number. And it stretched a little bit further. For 11 years, we're looking at 1.1 billion. The question is today, is the government really enjoying just collecting this money from this community without giving anything back? Mark. The second part of my presentation is the labour market. We all know that where do they work? Where do they get their money? As cleaners, in the hospitality during COVID, they were the people that cleaned the mess for us while we all hid. We all stayed home. They are the farm workers. They're the ones that went and picked the apples, picked everything, and supply our supermarket. Hammerhands and labourers in the construction industry. We know that recently the Department of Immigration was doing raids in the construction. In our roading and infrastructure, they provide the most needed labourers in there. COVID-19 has affected labour mobility globally. And according to a report by the World Bank, our global GDP is declining by 4.9%. New Zealand is doing really good, 2.3% decline. as compared to the rest of the world. And one of the things they pointed out in this report is labour mobility is the main reason for this decline. We are trying to import more people at this stage from the Pacific, from COVID-free countries. What about these people that are already here? We can give them a job and regularize these people so that they can enjoy the freedom that we all do. My last slide is specifically about Pacific Overstayers. I'm just going to give you some examples where the Overstayers contribute. Sports stars like Jonah Long, Jerome Kaino, Verity Adams. These are children of Overstayers. They have contributed to the economy of this country through their stardoms. These Overstayers as well, they involve in the community. You only have to go to South Auckland to look at the churches. These huge, many more monumental, magnificent churches. These people are involved in those kind of things. They donate to it from money that they have to scrape for.
I'm here as a son of an overstayer whose sacrifice and hardship are shared by thousands of our vulnerable families. And these people who are my leaders, who are my elders, we're here today to represent their voices, those now and those who have passed. So we stand on the shoulders of giants to express sorrow and hope. The grief and pain experienced by these families are insurmountable and is a tragedy to this nation that prides itself on love, care, and compassion. My father's selfless act and pain helped me to become a doctor. My daughter is a surgeon, and my younger children will also become doctors. He died physically as a physically broken man at only 52 in 1997. And that was after working as an overstayer, pushing a 200-kilogram trolley, days on end, 12 hours a day, under the radar. He did that so that I can have an opportunity for myself and my kids to grow up and contribute to this great nation, not to be a burden, as Maka has said. I can never repay my father for what he has done and the sacrifices he has made, and for him to see my children to enjoy what they can provide. The celebrations of my children graduating, my father can never enjoy it. But his dying wish as an overstayer was for us to find, a prosperous future, and that is an honourable thing for any parent. Members of the Select Committee, my father's wish and hope is that the same aspiration held by all overstayers in Aotearoa is realised and given the chance. They have lived in pain and hardship for years, and if you hear the stories, it's horrific. Some have been here for decades just trying. They are good people, lovely people. If they did things wrong, they would have already been sent back home. But they're lovely people. All they want is the opportunity, help their children live in this great land so that they can wear the silver fern, sing the national anthem, and perform the haka with passion, like all young Kiwis. As an expert on vulnerability, the overstayers experience the most extreme form of vulnerability because they are treated as third-class citizens, compelled by law and government policy into submission. These are actions designed to cause maximum suffering, even though many have small children. They've been living in this nation for decades. Members of the committee, when the Dawn Raiders used the dogs to seek out overstayers, the police dogs had more legal protection and rights than the overstayers. Overstayers were dehumanized and considered fodder. This practice of seeking out overstayers continues today, where vulnerable overstayers are still being deported in the middle of a pandemic. It is sad, it is a tragedy as a nation that we condone this hideous practice of seeking out these vulnerable families and absolutely crushing them when their only crime was to find a prosperous future for their children. And I'm a product of that. Overstayers are not afforded the rights to state services. This is despite the fact that they suffer the worst kind of poverty and injustices. The fear and desperation to survive leaves the overstayers vulnerable to exploitation by dodgy employers and others, just using them to enrich themselves. The reason why is because they know that overstayers don't have a voice and they are too afraid to go to the authorities. Living in fear is a daily experience. I've experienced it. My father has. For the entire overstayer family, the parents suffer immense depression, anxiety, worrying non-stop, 24/7. The mental health toll is just extremely severe, and that it is difficult to calculate. They are driven into extreme poverty because of their limited employment opportunities and can only work illegally at the mercy of employers, friends, and family who are good to them. Some are not. Overstayers have limited protection, and their children bear the full brunt of the harsh conditions that they face. In this land, where right now we look at children as the most important, as the most vulnerable, but we leave the children of the overstayers as if they don't exist. Let me tell you something about the resiliency and the character of overstayers. As a nation, we want people of good character and resolve. Overstayers are the most loyal, caring people you will ever meet. They're extremely resilient, and they will sacrifice their own well-being for the sake of their family and community. That is honourable. Many overstayers, including my parents, migrated to Aotearoa to achieve things that any parent would want for their children, and that is a better future. They're Christians. Many from those from the Pacific have helped, as Maka has mentioned, they have helped build our communities. They are part of us. They work hard. They have a never die attitude towards hard work. They never say no. They'll always work hard. Ask any employer who knows an overstayer. They will have so many superlatives to say about the work ethic of overstayers. Even under the harshest conditions, overstayers will always try to look at the brighter side of life and are always grateful just to be alive and always remain positive. In all our communities, there are overstayers. We rally around them to support them because they are family too. They are part of our community, our DNA. Overstayers too are us. Aotearoa is an example to the world in managing the pandemic, and we love and respect our frontline workers. As Maka has said, our overstayers are all involved in there. My family, I have overstayers in my family. It is they're part of me. If you take them away, you take a part of my arm away. Sadly, the overstayers are not eligible for public services, so it makes them a lot more vulnerable to everything that comes their way. As a nation, we have an opportunity to reset the clock. Let's start fresh. Compassion should apply to all people, regardless of their legal status, to be in Aotearoa. We are here with whānau, community, our leaders, and we ask you, we want to convey to you the messages from the people now, my father who has passed, and those who wish and have that hope. So please show kindness and compassion, aroha, to the most vulnerable. We ask that you be brave and do what others have failed to do. and that is to recommend that overstayers be given the chance at a pathway to residency and start fresh as a loving and compassionate nation. Our people have stood alongside Kiwis through world wars, hardship and turmoil, and today we ask that you stand with us in our time of need. Tua o whai ki atu. Māma.
Sa moa o le a whaile tātou malolonga. A foi mai, ona whaawau lea o la o tau mai moanga i le folasanga o lo fina wina ai le mata upu moni avanoa e whai pepo i la tau lo o vaso ina ia nofo mau tutono ni sila. Le vaenga o le a fiai, ma le saunoanga le fionga i atuala tangaloa tusani.
Mana tua le Pacifica Market i malurewa i asa whaile te tasi mai le valu taia o le tolu lea fiafi. Tele le vaisalo, koko hesi, faausi, pia sua fai, koko alaisa, keke pua amare keke mamoe, mole malu taia o, maua le mutalo, uau whai ahia, le size tu, matau mafa SS, manongi le papa kiu muri pipi, male mamoe, tele lava lava ma mea taulima sa mua male Pacifica, a fia mai loa i le iwa lima Browns Road i malurewa, Pacifica Market i asa whaile te tasi.
A whai wo te uti te se leni, mana o miwawe se so swani mo so se whaalavlave. Vili mai loa le whaalavlave longs i le olua tasi, olua iwa, lua o no fitu o. Olua tasi, olua iwa, lua o no fitu o. Matala noa i le fionga ia tofilau esta tofilau, mo sau no ngā tupe, e ia ngā faapitoa.
Sa moa o le tāpenanga a le Pacific Leadership Forum i lana folasanga o loo fina wina ai le mata upu ngō se avanoa e taumwhai ei pepo i la taulo o vaso a wale nofo mau tonu New Zealand. Lea sa sauno i ai le sunga ia maka pailate. Sauno i ai le sunga le fomai a Dr. Tony Whakahau o se li i mona mātua sa Overstayers i tausanga ua tuanai. Ao leo le a whaawau i le folasanga a le tofa i a pakilau o Aotearoa manase lua. Ai maise le vaenga o loo moli mawai se alii tonga haniteli. Sa a fia le overstayer mole se furuono tausanga. Ai wha uma le saunuanga a le fionga i atuala tangaloa tusani. I a fianga o lana sa ininga malo i tutono ni usila na vea i foi o ia o se tangata overstayer.
Madam Chair, again, can I say it is with honour that we come with our elders in our community to advocate for our vulnerable overstayers. I will go straight to the pathways. Number one, we want an amnesty. No mucking around. You know, Aotearoa is the land of milk and honey for many of us. We came here to build this country. We came here to help in your time of need, as Dr. Tony has said. Surely we can get something back for all the hard work and labour our people have continued to give Aotearoa. Number one, that's the top. We didn't put it in our submission because we thought it might make it easier for the bureaucrats to work through it without having the word amnesty in there. But that's the top of our pathway. It's part of the pathway. The other one, if you can't do the amnesty, that's okay. Transitional schemes. We've had them before. Last one was 21 years ago. How about revisiting that one? Give them, regularise the overstayers that are already here. Can't go back. We don't want to send them back in case of COVID. Tonga is COVID-free. Samoa is COVID-free. We don't want that risk. They're already here. Our industries are crying out. Let's have that transitional policy work again. It's been 21 years. Used to be 10-year cycles for those transitional schemes. The other pathway, regularise and upskill them to meet certain sector needs. I know because I work in the disability sector. They're crying out for workers. I work for an organisation called Te Pou. We've funded over 50,000 individual participants in this country to work and to do the work well. However, I know there is a shortage in the sector. How about putting them there? There are other sectors. Fruit pickers. You're going to raid the Pacific again. Bring them in for 2 years and then say, go back, we don't need you anymore. Your kids are settled. They're unsettled back in the islands. We don't feel that's fair. There's a lot of issues that come with bringing individuals here in schemes, leaving mum and dad and mum and the kids at home. There are issues there. I'm not saying the RSC scheme and others are bad. There are issues, and we need to look at our immigration settings. That's important. And what I'm saying is regularise the ones that are here, get them to work first. And if you're worried about the numbers, we have a Pacific Access quota. That's another pathway. We never fill the quotas every year, and they're non-cumulative. Why is that? It resets every year. Give us our quotas back. We can fill them with the overstayers. And so these are some of the pathways, Madam Chair, and I do apologise for my tone, but I'm here to fight for these voiceless people. The last one, and this is the big one, and I may be speaking out of turn because I am not tagata whenua, but they are in my blood, they are in my DNA. Tautoko to my cousins there on the panel. I just want to say there are options, traditional options. Europeans arrived here 2 centuries ago or so. Our people arrived here the same way. They came here, the Europeans came here for a better life, so did we. And we're still doing it. And so what I'm saying is there are whāngai options with different iwi. Let's explore that. We can trace our ancestry to Tahiti, Cook Islands, where Māori came from. That's Hawaii. We have a bloodline there. But we are here advocating for all overstayers, not just for the Pacific, because they're fun. That's how we roll. Pacific people, we are whānau. We're all in the same boat. So even though there are 3 Tongans here, we are here on behalf of everybody. And the fact that Tongans are the majority of overstayers. So it only is fair for us to front this issue. That's why we're here, Madam Speaker. And thank you for the extra time. I will now hand it over to Hunter.
It is a great honor for me to support this petition and to speak on behalf of the 14,000 overstayers in New Zealand. My story: I was born in Tonga in 1974 when the Ton raids began here in New Zealand. Migrated to New Zealand in 2001 to further my study through Aotearoa Scholarship. Graduated 2003, worked as an assistant accountant from 2004 to 2016. I have contributed at least 200 grand to the New Zealand economy from my PAYE, my CST, and my income tax. I have 7 kids who were all born here. 4 are citizens by law, and 3 are not. After I lost my job, life for us was opportunistic. We were overstayers then. My story is still raw. Straight after the first lockdown last year, and while the country enjoyed moving up to level 2, 29th of May, someone reported us to Immigration New Zealand. At that moment, my family was living in a building meant not to be lived in. Immigration came to our house that morning. Luckily, someone called us. We had to run. There were only 3 kids at home that day, while the other at school. Sad part of the story, one of my kids who was with us that day is a New Zealand citizen, but he had to run with us together. In fear, panic, and tears, he understands that inside his mind, why do I have to run? I'm a citizen here. We moved to my brother's house with that fear and depression. 17 people in a 4-bedroom. What I can't absorb here, Madam Chair, was the fact that everyone are affected. Our 4 citizen kids have been uprooted. Really sad experience as a parent knowing that 7 kids are divided into half by laws. I'm grateful to Her Royal Highness Princess Mele Polokalame for the feeling. My lawyer, Amelia Safi, affirming words, Asa Foundation Trust, families and friends who did help us during those dark days of our lives. Last Thursday, only 7 days from now, the 5th of August, 2001, Immigration New Zealand granted us residence. Today I stand before you with my family who lived the Overstayers experience. I echo Honorable Jacinta Ardern message during the COVID-19 pandemic. Be kind to Overstayers. As Abraham Lincoln quoted, I have always found that mercy bears richer fruits than strict justice. While we are enjoying this beautiful country, the Overstayers are working, eating, drinking, breathing, and sleeping in nightmare, knowing that deportation is only a checkpoint away. Let me conclude with this. With mercy and sympathy, no one will hate to love one another. Be kind to Overstayers.
Madam Chair, just finally, we would like to conclude with a video of our princess, if you could bring it up. We felt deeply moved with the apology, and we agree. But we also want the nation to remember the words of our Princess, Her Royal Highness, Princess Polokalame, who spoke so eloquently at the Dawn Raid apology. When she accepted the apology, we all accepted the apology. However, that's the word you have to remember, however. I'll leave it to Her Royal Highness to speak on our behalf again.
I accept your apology. However, love you, Jacinda. The VA could be better and complete should the government promptly respond to the immigration-related needs of our community. A number of petitions were submitted. One, the petition to provide pathways for overstayers. And two, the petition calling for residency for visa holders and overstayers. This is a new dawn for my community and the Pacific community at large. I would encourage my Tongan community to stand up, continue to work harder and smarter, and count our blessings. Let us make our Aotearoa our home.
And on behalf of all of us, we want to take this opportunity to thank you. Thank you for sharing the stories As you know, I am too, is a descendant of an overstayer. But you have done the community proud. You have brought their voices here. Definitely, it was an honor for me. You have asked me to receive the petition and present it here to the House. It's definitely an honor for me to do that. And I want to thank you for the stories. Handeri, malo au pito e lototo. Thank you for what you've shared with us today. And as we heard it, we can hear all the government policies throughout from 2001 until now in your story, and we want to acknowledge that. And I'm pretty sure that the process of this House, we will listen to other submissions, and we will conclude our report as Madam Chair will share with you that will go through the House. But for today, I just want to thank you.
I just want to say to you that your presentation has landed very well with the committee, and I really liked how you emphasise the point of essential workers, given that we are moving through a pandemic, and the way that the community has wrapped around those essential workers, including those people that do the work at home, and how important that is. And also emphasising the need for an amnesty for overstayers and those pathways for residency. I want you to continue to hold on to those two things. It's very easy for us as politicians to talk a lot, but what you need to see is results. So I would encourage you to keep on pushing, keep on organising, and keep on holding us to account.
I'd like now to, for the final part of this part of our meeting, thank you all very much. All of you, thank you very much. And as my colleagues have mentioned, your submissions have been heard. We've heard you.
Aftai fo ile tātou ta mālang. Ia. O mai a fo ile nei whontanga. Ile tātou mata upu le. Tala no ai ile soswani atu lea le Pacific Leadership Forum. Ia po telefo o tātou tai. Mo se avanoa mo le tātou Overstayers. Ia. Tele o tātou tangata. Ia. Mai le Pasifika. Ia o lea e taimi nei ia. O lea le mō lako pepa. Ia e whainga kāi fōi ngā mauangi ngā ruenga ia ma kele fō isi. Mea fōi ale mwhaina na mō se la te sosani mō lātou. Nana o lea overstayer. Ia. O nei mta upu. Ia. O se mea patina fōi mō hau. Nana o hau. Ia. Na ki poki whika ika i le esa overstayer. I le iwa iwa. Ia le mea nau te loa ai. O le au ngā o le nei mta upu. Le nei Swani. Yeah, to tell tātou tangata mai Pasifika. Yeah, we are here with the Pacific Leadership Forum and many of our community to seek amnesty or pathway to amnesty for our overstayers or the undocumented. It's an important issue because there's a lot of support and help that is needed for our people that are currently here, that overstayers or undocumented. So hope that keep us in your prayers on this mission, and also looking forward to seeing our team and all our supporters in Auckland this Friday to report back on how this event has been today, and looking forward to seeing you next week, and that's whaftai for me.
Samoa o le ototonga le nā o le folasanga o lo fina winai le mata upu. Wa tui nā tu nei le Parliament o New Zealand. E tō maila na pule, mo se awala po ni awala e mawhai ai, o na whaia pepo i la tō ovaso i New Zealand, ina ia mawhai o na nofo mau i le nei atino. O le a whaise mālolonga a fōi mai, o na tātou fōi le whanua, tā po inga Samoa i Aukilani, ai maise le soina, o tāpenanga mo le nei mata upu taua.
Mana tua le Pacifica Market I Malurewa I asa whaile te itasi mai le valu taia ho le tolu lea fiafi. Tele le vaisalo, kokohesi, faausi, pia sua fai, kokolaisa, keke pua amare keke mamoe, mo le malu taia o, maua le mutalo, uau whai aia, le size 2, matau mafa SS, o nongi le papa kiu muli pipi, male mamoe, tele lava ma mea taulima Samoa male Pacifica, a fia mai loa I le iwa lima Browns Road I Malurewa, Pacifica Market I asa whaile te itasi.
A whai wo te uti le seleni, mana o mea wawe se so swani mo so se whaalavlave. Vili mai loa le whaalavlave longs i le olwa tasi, olwa iwa, lua ono fitu o. Olwa tasi, olwa iwa, lua ono fitu o. Matala noa i le fionga ia tofilau esta tofilau, mo sauno no ngā tupi, e iai ngā faapitoa.
Samoa, o leo ua foi mai whanua le tātou Polokalame i au kilani le tāpua inga lo tātou atinu. Saunoanga a le whaawhengainga i a pasta le lua tamala. Langolango ino le nei wha moe. Ai maise o le saunoanga a le tōwha i a le atuao Larry Tupai. O se tama whanau o le tātou atinu i tūlanga o pisinisi New Zealand nei, leo ua tu ino mailo na tau au e fesoa swani a wani pepa whai ngā luenga e tape na ai talosagaina i latou ua ova aso i totonu New Zealand. E le ngata i lea, o se upu whaamalosi, sunga le whaawhengainga i a Pastor Kevin Uruiva, na ai filofilo e peo le upu e whai ata i vau, ma le ainga tau a ana, a wale nei whaamoemoe ina ia manuia o tātou tangata.
Ia, mori atu le whaaftaitele le neitai hao, mua tātou awerewi inga i le atua. Ona o leua a whaiwina ma le manuia le potonga po le maftanga le tunu, sa moa i pe ona poto le neitai hao. Ia ua tonu fo ua ta ape atu ua lele le ngongo ma sena i e pe ole upu masani. Ona o le whaamoemoe pe ona iei le aso nafi. Ia o leua fola ma whaamale malama i le neitai hao e sunga le taitai fono. Ia e me se fo le fionga i le to fai ale unu moenga te ai ia mole le nganga whaaftai le atua ona o le langolango ina ona i o tātou tangata o lo whapena ona mana o mia le fisosani ala i mea no fumau ia mai o au fo e matua si ilo urima tau matau tu matua i o langolango ina le nei whaamoemoe ia ona o le alofa ina i o tātou tangata o le melea sa moa o e mai mai whaafo mai ia o le whaamoemoe na e ano whai ato upto mua o le aso nei. A whai tātou te tautala i ngana tangata tō maangeru e leise arofa. Ia o lea o ngālo tātou tau mwhai o melea, mori lea nganga whaaftai, whionga i taitai whono ma i o komiti. Ia ona o le nei whaamoemoe uae, ua mafu ai ona maua sosoani mo nei o tātou tangata. E ula ina le i ul whaamoemoe. Ia leo tātou tālia le tari mai parimene. Ia mai mauti nofoi. Ia o se tari tātou te fia ai. Ia ai mo nei taimi ia alo fangia i le atua, tātou te talo ma ana pongi ma tātou lafo i atu i le atua. Ia ina ia le whaamanianga ia nai o tātou tangata. Manuia sa moa lau tāpua inga i nei tūra tai au, ia le anga lei o le atua. Ona o Yesu, amen.
Talo whalawa sa moa ma lo le soifua. Ia o le atua o lea e tau talatu. Ia e moli atu le nganga whaaftai wa fo il tau silisila mai. Ia awalem tā upu sa tau mwhai ai i al komiti nei. Ia e o atu e le malo i na whaafai ngofi ai o na maua se awala. Ia e nofo mau ai o tātou tangata o lo Overstayers. Ia o lo itu o le tau mwhainga le komiti nei. O le taitai ai ia Teleiai ma telefoi o swafa o tātou nuu. Ia ma asa foi. O le vaenga lona lua. O le whaafaiga loenga inga o tātou tangata Samoa. O se manatu a whaafaiga fie le ala o le malo ia maua se pepa whaafaiga loenga tangata Overstayers. Ona maua la ia o le pepa whaafaiga loenga mo le tausanga e tasi konkalaki ai. A maoni maoni le ngalua nā tangata ia ona me ilola ia tūlanga i mawhai ona nofo mawai. Ai o le tau mawhainga ia sue atu ia tu atu pepa whainga loenga mo tātou tangata sa mo lo mawhai ona lātou ngalue pe mawhai ona lātou whainga luenga ia e whaingo fi ai ia se ala i mawhai ona mawai le pepa whainga le visa e whainga luenga ai ma nofo mawai. So that's the idea. The idea is to give a job offer to our people who are overstayers, enable the government to have a streamlined process where they don't have to, the employer doesn't have to advertise or incur any other costs, but to offer a job, let's say in all the agreements and the contracts, etc., give them a work visa and then work towards residency. Yeah, o se nā se anganga tomo whai ai o nei tangata ma pisinisi ia se ala whai ngofie ai ma lo whātua le tātou atunu. Ia manui a lava Samoa, ia tō maupea le atua i mea lava lo whai mai lamtanga se o lava le ngata anga. Ia, God bless you. Christ be the centre of all that you do. Ia, tai lava.
Tā lofa lava, e tutono le luka olo nam tāu pasi fulma le malu. O loo iai se tau le lea na alu e sa ili sana sikisengi le langi. Na alu e so na avanoa e sao i le malo le atua. Na alu atu la ia ua whai a Yesu. O le ali mea na te whai e na te mau ai le ola e whaavau. E wha mai Yesu, na ua i lotu la fono, au e te pepelo, au e te ngaoi. Ea, e awa i o louta mama loutina. E wha mai le tala le tau le lea lea. Na o tau sia mea tu la fono a o lai titi. O wha mai lo Yesu, tu e tase le mea na tutoi. Alu e whaatau uma o loa. O na avile i e matisiva. Ai sau muri mai e teau. Ai wha mai wa ti ngā le tau lea lea. Wa alu mara ti ngā. O na whariu leo Yesu o whailo na auso, whaapea. Sidi atu na whai ngofie o na sao le ka mela i le mato le au. Na ilo le mau o na sao i le ola e whaavavau. O na whaapea la i o le auso o ia Yesu. Whaalongolongo le auso. E whainga tātele lana Mose avanoa e sao i le malo le atua. Pe sao i le langi, pe Mose sikisengi le langi, whaapea le auso. O ai ea la e sao le malo o le atua. A wha mai whetalai ngā Yesu. E le mawhaia e le tangata. A e mawhaia e le atua. E wha pēnā fo i la se whi au mo i tātou. A whaina mawhaia e le atua o na whaia le au wala e sao i le tangata i le ola e whaavavau. E ala ia Yesu Keriso. Ma le alofa tu no o le atua. E le talitonunga, e mawhai fo i le atua na whaia le au wala e maua i le nofo mau na i o tātou tangata i ni New Zealand. Wha mai o i o le atua e mawhaina i a whaia le au wala i le mele ise au wala na te whaatupua fo i le vaitafe le nuu nau mati. Ai na i le whetalai ngā le atua na whai se tasi o tamai tu tono le tuspa i na whai ai Yesu e whaapea. E mawhaia mea uma i le talitonu. Na le wingo le nātala. A whai te whaatua ma e talitonu i le atua. E mawhai o na whai e le atua so o se mea. O loo, ia i le talosanga alo tātou nei o tātou tangata, o uso mtua whawhine, o tātou a inga o whanau, o i lātou o tele tausanga, o i nei ia ma ua nofo solitu la fono. O se whaamalosi mo oe. O le ala i le langi e le whaingofie, peitai, na mawhai o na whai e le atua le auala. Na ia au mai e lona alo pele to tasi o le ala o le alofa tu noa. E whaapena fo i se whi au. A whaina mawhai e le atua o na whai le auala i le mele i eise auala. Ma ia whaatupua le vai tawhere nuu nau mati. E le ai fo i la se whainga tā. Ia o le tālo sanga o lo tu inatu tutonu. Pe a whai tātou te whaatua tua mo tātou lafoa i le atua. Ia lo tātou wha moe moe. Samoa. A o iai fo i le tālo sanga i tutonu. Tātou nofu tatalo tu i le atua. A whai o iei niso i tātou i Samoa. O iei niso o tātou a ingai nei. Tu atu i le atua. Tatalo ma whaapeo na whaatangisia pelo na lofa mlo na ngalelei. Ina ia mawhai o na moa manui o ni o tātou tangata. Ia o lo whaale i tonu le nei fo. Ia tunu wha manui ale atua. E le nei fo i a matanga o whi au mga ruenga le nei vai aso tātou toi wheilo ai.
Hei ki ko e o
Samoa o lea ua taualunga ai le tātou Polokalame whaasolo Samoans in Aotearoa. Sa mai mo ai le lua se fulu vai aso i le sa ili ngā manuia ma le sa ili ngā malo o tātou tangata. Na anga i mai ni usila le vaitau o le 5 ono sefulu se o mai fo i le 7 sefulu. Ia le wha moe le tausanga fau o le ato e a sia ai le Samoan sin Aotearoa. Ia i la tau na ine le 8 sefulu iwa sefulu se i o mai i le luafe. Ai mo le vai aso fau o le amatai le tātou Polokalame whaasolo fau. Samoa mo Samoa. Aualane i emisia le vai aso lo mo mua i le Polokalame fau mo le 2 sefulu fau i vai aso Samoa mo Samoa. Ai mai a tau i le nei taime mo li atu o lo whaanga o le tātou Polokalame. Po a whaiva o lo whiangai ma lo tātou tinu. I le tautua i a inga e maise o a fioanga. Ai maise fo i le tautua lotu. O tiute i ngā ruenga o pisi nisi o whaiva o le malo. Mo li atu whaamnianga le tātou Polokalame. Pe tātou te le whisanga i fufonga. Ai tātou te aleanga pea i luma o le tua i tālu sanga. Mai a Teleiai, tō wha soifua.